So, hello everyone, I'm Shivangi, and today with me I have Ayush Gupta, who will be pursuing his PhD in AIEM from John Hopkins University. Thank you so much for joining me here, Ayush. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
So, my first question would be, why did you choose to go for a PhD straight after your bachelor's degree?
Right. So I expected you to ask this, a very common question. A
Yeah.
lot of people have asked me this. So it was kind of a late decision, I would say. When I joined my bachelor's in my first and second year only, I had made up my mind to go for a master's, like at least higher studies. I had decided, and it made more sense to go for a master's back then. I was thinking maybe I'll try research at BITS as well by taking SOPs and LOPs with professors, and then further I'll try research during my masters, and then I'll decide if I want to pursue research or not. But during my third year, yes, I did two SOPs with different professors, and in my fourth year also I did my thesis, uh, an off-campus thesis that was also a research experience. And by talking to these professors and a lot of other people, I I realized that if I wanted to do research in the end, it made more sense to go directly for a PhD rather than first do a master's and then do a PhD, because it would save time, obviously. So this is how I ended up deciding that I'll directly do my PhD, because I knew that I wanted to go into research by then.
Makes sense. So, why did you choose Johns Hopkins University finally for your PhD?
Right. So I had emailed before applying to different universities. I had emailed the professors there whose research work I like, and among those emails, I think I had received quite a few replies. Some saying they are not hiring this year, some saying they are hiring, some encouraging me to apply, some saying that they can't comment on the decision right now. So I finally applied to only those universities whose professors had encouraged me to apply, and yeah, I had received a response from them. So that's how I made up my list of where to apply, because just seeing the rankings, the university rankings for a PhD, I don't think that's sufficient. Like a PhD is very different from a master's. You need to look more at for the like you need to focus more on the advisor and the work he's doing, whether it aligns with your interest. And I gave that a more preference, and whatever professors encouraged me to apply there, I applied there. And among the admits I got, John Hopkins was the best.
All right. So, congratulations. And I would like to know, what challenges did you face while you were filling your applications, and during that process, what were the challenges that you faced and how did you tackle them?
Challenges. So yeah, definitely biggest one on the top of the mind or top of my mind was getting LORs. So which professors I must say I asked them late. Like I had three recommenders. One of them was my off-campus thesis professor, and two of them were BITS profs, which I had done projects with. So yeah, those were like they used to submit their recommendations a bit late. So how the recommendation system works is you have to fill out the application form for these universities, and you have to write the email IDs of your recommenders on each of these portals. And then the university emails those professors directly, and those professors have to fill up a form. So, and this is done for each university. So if you are applying to 10 universities, your recommender has to fill 10 forms. And that was the biggest challenge, because one of my professors limited the number of recommendations they would give, which limited the number of universities I had applied. So shortlisting those universities and then asking my recommenders was not a good idea in retrospect. I should have first asked them and then decided the number of universities. But yeah, that somehow got solved. So I managed to arrange a backup recommender for the remaining universities. But yeah, and the next major component is writing your SOP, statement of purpose. and a research statement. So for a PhD specifically, you have to include some of your research interests as well in the SOP, and crafting that story around my research interest and my personal interests and how it aligns with the university. That was the next challenge, but I had my seniors and professors to help me out. So that is how I crafted my SOP. And yeah, the rest was pretty straightforward. Giving GRE in my year was optional, but I still gave it. And yeah, TOEFL is okay. So major things were recommendations and SOPs.
So you just said that. My next question was actually regarding GRE only. How important do you
Okay.
think GRE and TOEFL scores are when you're applying for a foreign university?
I don't think, especially after COVID, their importance has reduced a lot. Uh, During COVID, during my year and my senior year also, uh, the universities had made GRE optional. And if it's optional, I still gave GRE because when I had given GRE, I had not decided which universities I'm going to apply. So I didn't know whether those universities wanted GRE as like compulsorily or was it optional. So I had given GRE way before, I think, before even deciding the universities. And same for TOEFL also. So that is why I had given those, but I don't think they had significant impact on the application. You just have to clear a cutoff, and that cutoff is, I believe that it is quite easy for BITS students to clear those cutoffs.
So while we are talking about scores and cutoffs, how important do you think that a person's CGPA is when they are thinking of applying for a higher study? So how important of a role does the CGPA play?
So yeah, CGPA, it does play a role, but I think for PhD it is lesser compared to an MS. For PhD, I think even so a little bit for MS. The major focus of the universities look for is your resume, the projects, more so for PhD, because in PhD, like even in PhD school, I have my advisor has already told me you have to complete this requirement of courses and you just have to pass in these courses. The world will know you for your research, not for your grades. And that's why for PhD, I think the importance of CGPA is much lesser, but still CGPA is an indicator of how dedicated and how hardworking you are and so on, this cliched thing. So yes, it is important, but for PhD, I don't think it's as much important compared to NMS, where the main goal is to complete courses.
So if someone is applying for higher studies and they're not getting a very high CGPA, is there any way to offset that?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things the universities look for, right? There's your resume. GRE TOEFL scores also used to be there, but their importance is now low. And the main thing is your recommendations, SOPs, the projects you have done, the resume, which I already told. So yeah, all these things they can help you offset low CGPA.
So do you think it is a good idea for one to apply for a PhD if they do not have interest in joining academia?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in industries also research goes on, right? You can join companies, and industrial research is also a thing. So if you like research, I think you should go for a PhD, even if you don't want to become a professor.
So you mentioned that your research work plays more important role when you're applying for higher studies. So what are internships did you do when you were at BITS Pilani?
Okay, so the first one was my PS1, which I did at IIRS, Dehradun. Again, it was remote in our year. The first year, the PS1 was remote. And then during the summer after the third year, I had done a 2-month internship with a university in Germany, UHH Language Technology Group. So that I had worked on a project related to disinformation, capturing disinformation in news. That, and then it was my thesis. is in my 4-1. Yeah. So these three internships were the major internships in my resume for my applications, along with SOP I did with one of the professors at BITS. So I had 4 projects.
So with time, when we grow, our knowledge grows. So how did your experience of each internship change with time?
Interesting question. So, like the first one, PS1, I think most of the students know PS1. Students don't work a lot on PS1. It's just for chilling. And more in our time, it was online. The first PS1, which was online, so nobody had an idea. Even our uh, advisor there at IARS, even she did not have much of an idea. So I think that was a pretty minor project, but and that was like not related, not as much related to what I'm doing now as the other projects. Then the next one was my internship at Germany, so that definitely helped. I had done a few online courses on deep learning, which is my field of research. I had done a few online courses, and that internship was the first time I had applied that knowledge, uh, you know, in an actual project. Then there was the SOP, which I had done with a bit SOP. That was a year-long SOP, so it was quite significant. And it was in that project I got interested in the idea of explainability of deep learning models. And like that project gave me time and the resources. The Germany internship was just a 2-month internship, but this was a year-long project. So that gave me time and resources to like experiment a bit and gain some more practical insights on how to experiment and what to do in like how do we do research. So in that Germany project, it was pretty straightforward. I knew what I had to do because it was very less time, and the advisor there he kept on giving me instructions, and I followed those. But for the year-long project as well as for the thesis, I like I did receive advice from the professors, but most of the time I was on my own, and that is what research is. So I had to read up a lot, and I had to experiment things. Sometimes things failed, sometimes things succeeded. So that is how the experience changed. First, in the Germany research internship, the PS1 internship, I did not do much work at all. Then in the Germany internship, I knew what I had to do. I followed instructions. And then in the SOP and my thesis, it was like real research, what I'm expecting for my PhD.
So we can say that your internships did play an important role in your decision making of
Oh, yes.
to pursue.
Yes. No doubt about this, obviously.
So in addition to these internships, have you worked on some different projects?
Yeah, the SOP I told you about, that's it. So with the BITS prof, I had worked for 2 semesters, my 3-1 and 3-2, and that was a major project. It is still like my thesis project was the major one, like my biggest project I would say, and after that the SOP comes in.
So could you
apart from that, I don't think any projects have been related to this at least.
Could you briefly explain the project you have worked on?
The SOP one?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was related to video captioning, where you have a video, short 15 to 20-second clip, and your deep learning model, it has to generate natural language captions for that video. So say that in that video, there's a football match going on. So the video captioning model should output this many people, or say some people are playing with a ball. So from looking at a video, you have to generate natural language captions describing what is going on in the video, short 1-sentence captions. So that was my project. It was on the boundary of computer vision and natural language processing, because you have to analyze videos as well, and you have to generate words also. So this was our project. We actually took one of the existing architectures for this and kind of improved that architecture by feeding additional knowledge into it. My professor, she was working she had already worked on knowledge bases, and uh, we used knowledge bases to like improve that existing model and generate better captions. So there's a way you rate the captions generated, whether they are describing the video in a better way or not. So that is what we did in that sort.
That sounds really nice and interesting. So it is said that the knowledge you gain is never wasted. So apart from CS, what all fields have you explored?
Apart from CS, I think not much, but I did take quite a few courses on physics. So I was in my JE days also. I was like physics was my favorite subject, and even after coming to college, like uh, I think M1 calculus and the physics. So calculus and physics, they are kind of related only. That I explored. I remember in my first year, I used to pick up random books on physics and maths, calculus specifically, and just try to go through them, see if I understood them, and solve a few problems maybe if I was free. But that didn't last very long. It was just in my one. But yeah, for physics, I also took the non-linear dynamics course uh, just out of interest. It wasn't really related. I had decided by then that I'd be pursuing the programming only in CS, but still I went for that course just out of interest, and yeah, here I am. So it didn't really help me as such in my applications or something, but yeah, I know that I enjoy doing that.
So apart from all of this, what all extracurricular activities do you do?
Oh, so first one is definitely tennis for me. I actually picked up the tennis racket for the first time in my first year, in the first week after coming to campus. I had found this senior who was willing to give me his racket for free because he did not use it, and that's how I started going to the tennis court. I remember finding like in the first or second week, I didn't used to get not time, space in the tennis court because we just have two tennis courts.
Yeah.
But still, I kept on going there, and obviously, first time when I played, I had found a couple of other guys also who were playing for the first time, and together we used to lose a lot of balls. But yeah, I kept on doing that, and after my first year, I joined tennis classes back home, and that's how I got into tennis. I'm still into it. And apart from this, uh, I read books, quite an avid reader, and go for cycling and jogging.
Just out of curiosity, what kind of books do you read, like fiction, non-fiction?
Yeah, it's mostly fiction. The most recent book which I read was Gone Girl.
What book would you name to be your favorite?
My favorite.
Yeah.
Difficult, but I think Harry Potter series is still my favorite. Oh, that's nice.
So, in your opinion, how important these extracurricular activities are for a person?
For a person,
Yeah.
I like definitely. I think I want to give that cliched answer where these extracurricular activities help you take your mind off things, make freshen you up for your like whatever job or whatever studies you want to do. I think that's it really. You do what you enjoy, and that keeps you going with whatever you want to do.
So, for a junior who wishes to apply for higher studies, what advice would you give them?
Okay. So definitely, I think the most important the most important aspects of your application are your SOP and LOR, because resume you can't change when much when you are finally on at the point where you are deciding universities and programs. So focus on your SOP and LOR. Specifically, ask a lot of people to review your SOPs. Seniors and professors. Uh, I know two or three people who didn't do that, and they did not receive the admits they wanted. So definitely ask a lot of people, a lot of seniors to review your statements and research statements and personal statements. That's the most important advice. And yeah, even for help for shortlisting the program, like not a lot of people go for PhD, and that's why I think I was like I didn't have much advice on how to shortlist the university. That's why I told. That's why I followed this method of mailing professors first and then applying only where I got a positive reply. But I don't think that would be the best method. And if you know that you are going to go for higher studies, definitely start shortlisting universities very early. Uh, this will help you. And yeah, please keep asking seniors whenever you have any doubts.
So you said that you went for a thesis, right? You did not choose a PS2, you went for a thesis.
Yes,
So
yes.
what was the major factor that helped you decide whether to go for PS2 or thesis?
So, like it was clear that I wanted to do research, and I know that there are research-oriented PS2 stations also, but I still wanted to like work under a professor more because I had done that in my shop, working under a professor, so I already had that experience. And I think research-oriented PS2 stations, they are also less in number. So I had already started mailing professors for my thesis even before I made this decision of going into PhD and thesis. So I figured that if I didn't get good thesis offer, then maybe I could go for PhD. But I ended up getting one, and the professor even told me that it would be in person. So that is how I went. Like, who would miss an opportunity to go to the US for a semester?
So a message that you would like to give to people who are watching you right now?
Oh. So I think a lot of people think that my profile is not good, and like maybe I could work for 1 or 2 years, and then I would apply for higher studies. I think you might be underestimating yourself. A lot of people get these offers directly after uh, directly after bachelor's. So I think you can try and apply directly after bachelor's, and then if you can see and decide whether you want to do your job for 1 or 2 years and then go for higher studies, or directly go for higher studies. I think because that definitely saves that some time, and that will, I think, in the long term help you in your career.
So have you decided right now if you want to go into industries or not after your PhD?
So right now I am inclined towards going into industry, but I haven't made a short decision because PhD is a long time, 4 or 5 years, in some cases even 6 years, and a lot of things change by then. And same for bachelor's also. Like when I was entering my first year, I didn't know what I was going to do, whether it would be a job or an MS or even a PhD. I definitely had no idea that I would be going for PhD when I like entered my first year, and that's why I haven't made a short decision. But right now, I'm inclined towards industry more.
Thank you so much for joining me here today, Ayush. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Oh yeah, same here, Shivangi.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the interview. If you like the content, then do like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss any future updates. Also follow our Instagram page, the link of which is given in the description box below. Thank you and stay tuned for the upcoming content.